X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zack. And Adam, you know what we record on every week?
I record on my laptop. What do you record on?
We record on Discord. It's a
Oh,
service
right. Yeah.
that people use to communicate while they're playing video games.
Oh, is that why people use Discord? I never knew it from anything else.
That's how it started. That's how it started. So if you look at your Discord main menu, it'll tell you what video games people are playing. And some might think that's a weird feature. But that's...
Now I'm understanding what the icon is. It's a game controller. I always wondered what that
so
little
many
ghost
things are
thing
making
was.
sense now, aren't they?
Oh, man. Light bulbs are going off. Okay. Thank you.
We're talking about video games this week, guys.
Yes, we are headed to, well, I would say we're headed to the arcade, but these are not arcade games. These are games that you would have like gone and bought at your local KB toy store or Toys R Us or, you know, wherever, and brought them home and put them in your Super Nintendo or your PlayStation. It would have been very exciting.
It would have been. And for some of us, it was exciting because for some of us, the comics that we are talking about that are promotional tie-in materials to these video games, they were very key parts of our development of enjoying the X-Men franchise, I guess. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is Matt Smith, is one of our Patreon supporters, went on over to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom, threw some money our way and said, folks, love it if you talk about some video game stories. And we said, yes, we would very much like to do that. I've been wanting to do a dumb episode like this for so long. Wait till someone requests movie tie-ins that aren't specifically adaptations of the movie, because there's also some wild ones there.
Well, we've got one kind of like that today.
We've got that one. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
That one's an incredibly confusing product that exists.
Yeah. But we've actually, I was thinking about this this afternoon. We've actually covered a previous video game tie-in with our what was that? That was Marvel Fanfare?
Marvel Fanfare 33?
Yes, with the multi-part computer game tie-in. And there have been quite a few X-Men video games over the years. But I guess, which one do you want to start off with here? Because we didn't really decide on an order.
We'll start with the oldest, but I am curious, Adam. You mentioned a lot of X-Men video games over the years.
Yes.
What was your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I think, you know, growing up in arcade culture, obviously the arcade game. But I absolutely loved the X-Men Legends games, which we'll talk about today. So, how about you? Did you have a favorite?
Yeah, it was one of the X-Men Legends games.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 4-player, like, gauntlet style, co-op is the best. Like, even, the recent, was it Marvel Heroes United? Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Came out on the Switch last 2019. Oof, in the very before times, and it was very fun to play that with my son. Now I have specific issues with that game, very similar to some of my issues with X-Men Legends, but we're not going to get into that. Instead, we're going to get into a game that's a bit older, and that is Well, I say game. We're not talking about any of the games, really. We're going to talk about comics that are...
Yeah, we have to make that clear, because these are all video
We
game
only
tie-ins.
rank comics here.
These are all video... Well, actually, one of them's not even a video game tie-in, so we have to be even more clear than that. But
one of them is just a game tie-in.
Exactly.
Like the concept of play. It's a tie-in to that.
That one has layers, but we're going to start, we're going to go back to 1994. And after a couple of NES games, there was the Genesis game. But on Super Nintendo, there was an X-Men game called Mutant Apocalypse that came out from Capcom. Game pretty much centers around the X-Men fighting, for the most part, in Genosha. But also ends with a climactic battle on Avalon. So it's really, really like in the midst of kind of Fatal Attractions-esque, Jim Lee animated series. We're right in that era. And
you got Genosha, you got Apocalypse, you got the Brood, you got the Acolytes.
Exactly.
It's very early 90s.
Yeah. And this tie-in comic is called Road to Perdition.
That's a dumb name for a tie-in comic to this, especially because Road to Perdition doesn't appear anywhere on the cover that says X-Men Capcom Mutant Apocalypse.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Road to Perdition. That's a movie, I believe.
It's Prelude to Perdition.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure Road to Perdition is also a comic.
Yes, it was. But Tom Hanks is not in this comic book, to my knowledge. So we start off with a very core team. And this is similar to the playable characters in the game, but it's not exact.
It's mostly the playable characters.
We have Beast, Gambit, Cyclops, Psylocke, and Wolverine, and they are invading a test lab where Apocalypse is experimenting on mutants.
And then we find out that Apocalypse also has the Brood around.
Yeah, he's
for some reason
he's just got him chilling, and that's, I guess, one way to spend your off time is hanging around and enslaving aliens. I don't know if that's always a good idea.
Then the Sentinels show up, and then Magneto shows up, then Omega Red shows up, then Juggernaut shows up. Then the Acolytes show up. Yeah,
it sure is a lot of hitting random characters that are just popping out. But it is also revealed, I believe, that they are actually doing they're brought back to the X Mansion and brought into the Danger Room. They kind of get suckered into the Danger Room where one of the Acolytes, I don't think it's specified who, is like messing with the system. So they're flipping between all of these different environments, including the Mojoverse, a street scene, wherever, and they're trying to get to Professor X, and it's just not working.
They're just kind of playing all the levels of the game and showing all the bosses, right? That's what they're doing here? It's
not exact, obviously. If you guys, don't have access to a Super Nintendo, I certainly don't. You can always go on YouTube and watch a playthrough of this thing. I think if you play it from beginning to end, it's probably about maybe 10 hours worth of gameplay at the most.
That's a lot for a Super Nintendo game.
Maybe it's shorter than that.
Like not for like a JRPG, but like you can reasonably beat Super Metroid in like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And Super Metroid's the best Super Nintendo game. So I don't know why you'd want to.
Yeah, maybe I'm exaggerating the length of this, but obviously
10 hours may be what a child does take to beat this children's video game. That part's true. I've seen children struggle at video games.
Yeah, this one I don't believe had the same difficulty as like the X-Men Genesis game, which was kind of notorious for being difficult.
That one's hard, and like I've played that in the not so recent years, and I got mad at it that I quit. I got so mad. I was like, this game is broken and bad, and it doesn't even have as good graphics as the X-Men Genesis game, the second one, that has good graphics.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one that notoriously you had to take the cartridge out and put it back in somewhere along the line.
You had to hit the reset button. You had to hit the reset button at the end of the Mojo level, which is kind of beautiful.
It's great. The art in this is pretty interesting. It's by Carl Kerschel, who's
Kishel.
kind of what's
Carl
that?
Kishel. Carl
Yeah,
Kishel.
he's kind of doing a I don't know, it almost looks like a riff on what Jay Lee was doing during Executioner's song. Like
But it looks like Carl Kishel art.
Oh, see, I don't know this guy. What's he do? What's his thing?
Wait. Is this hold on.
I think you're confusing him with another artist.
Am I? No, I'm not. This is Carl Kishel. He did like Adventures of Superman and All-Star or All Flash and Teen Titans. Yeah. No, this is just a young Carl Kishel.
Okay, well, I just want to note that you just named all DC books that I have never read in my life. So
Sure. Yeah, you've seen his art though, I promise you.
I don't know about that. I'm just gonna like go out on a limb and say
go. Did you see anything from Gotham Academy?
I don't know what that is.
Isola?
I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh, just Google Carl Kishel. He's really good.
Okay.
Like, this is not... Carl Kishel did the new cover for the stupid Heroes Reborn Champions book.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm doing some... I've seen some of this stuff.
You've seen Carl Kishel's art.
Yes.
It would be
I
weird
have.
if you had it, because I saw this and said, oh, Carl Kishel did this early in his career? Good for him.
Okay. I mean, what we're looking at here does not look like what I'm looking at on this Google image search.
Well, it's 20 plus years later.
Yeah, I mean the bare bones are there. It's an interesting depiction of Apocalypse as sort of like this wrinkly lipped guy. I don't know. Like I guess that's just the vibe I got. But clearly this is early in his career. He's not like doing the stuff he's doing now. Of course.
Right. Jim Kruger does the scripts on this. Janice Chang does the inks. It's fine. Jim Kruger was Jim Kruger an editor? I feel like he was an editor.
Sure. I mean,
yeah, he was a creative director. He was creative director at Marvel. Yeah, that makes sense. He was defo just doing this to knock out the script.
Well, and it's weird because the comic ends with a little blurb about how this is going to be continued in Capcom's SNES game, but that's not the way the game starts. So the comic book ends with Psylocke, Cyclops, and Wolverine being gagged and held captive by Magneto at candlelight. Why the candles are there, I don't know. But that's not how the game starts. The game starts with Cyclops fighting in Genosha. So it's a weird one. I think like as a weird oddity, it might be something that if you have fond memories of the game or you're just fond of this era, you might want to track it down. But story-wise, there is literally almost nothing happening here.
Is exactly what you think a promotional tie-in comic to an SNES video game's going to be. Especially, like, here's the thing. None of the X-Men video games, until, like, maybe the late GameCube era, or the early GameCube era when they did, like, that one fighting game, had any sort of real plot.
Well, and I don't think anybody was tuning into a Super Nintendo game for plot. I think they were looking for characters they recognized from the show or from the comics, and they wanted to, be able to punch each other's with, their game controllers. So, game aside, I don't know that. I mean, this comic. God, I can't even figure out what the hell we're talking about this week. It's definitely emulating the style of a video game, but there's like I said, there's not a lot going on.
No, we should rank it then.
We should. We have a very long list that we should put this on.
Oh my gosh. Do you know how long our list is, Adam? It is 474 stories long on the road to 500.
500.
We're going to get there. Number 1 on our list is Hoxpox. Number 100 on our list is that time that the Bendis Uncanny X-Men went into limbo. Number 200 on our list is Uncanny X-Men 15.inh Girls Night Out. Another Bendis, that one with Chris Anka. Hunt for Xavier is at 300 from the late 90s. That's the one with the fake X-Men. Number 200 is 400 is X-Men Heroes for Hope, and then the Draco is at the bottom of the list.
All right.
I think this is
better than...
Actually, I don't know. Is it better than Heroes for Hope? They're both oddities.
Oh, you're going that high. I'm kind of surprised. Like,
Okay,
I'm looking down...
now that I'm saying this, Stephen King didn't write this tie-in comic.
All right, I am looking down at 444 on our list, which is that Roy Thomas Aussie X-Men story, Marvel Superhero Special, which, you know, again, has about as much of a story thread as this does. Like, it doesn't quite need to understand what any of the characters are or what their motivations are. It's just let them hit each other. Like,
You know, we were talking about how expensive Prelude to Perdition is to get a hard copy of.
yeah.
It is probably more expensive to get all of this Roy Thomas story in hard copies because number 8 happens to also include the first appearance of the Squirrel Girl.
Yes. Yeah. That's
also, I think you actually hit the perfect spot because right above that is X-Men Forever, which I think is weird and dumb and bad, but also kind of better.
intriguing.
It has things that I enjoy in it and a lot of stuff I dislike. But right below that Roy Thomas story is Sacred Vows, the story where Polaris doesn't get married. I don't know. Would you put it above or below this Aussie X-Men Roy Thomas special?
I think I might actually put it above. Like, it's just all right, I'll say this. Like, the Roy Thomas story didn't really know what the heck it was doing. Like, this knows what it's doing, and it's just vapid and silly, and it gets its job done. So this is going to be our new 444.
This is our new number 444. It's Prelude to Perdition. It's weird. The next one we're talking about is weirder.
Well, all right, we're going to go in chronological order. Is that the plan?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
The next one is officially titled X-Men the Movie Special. And by that title, you may think that this is an adaptation of the X-Men movie, considering it came out in the year 2000, and Wolverine is wearing everyone's wearing their X-Men, the movie costumes.
That's
Art
right.
Adams drew the cover. It's not his best work.
It's a wraparound cover, and everybody kind of looks like they did in the movies, for the most part.
Here's the thing, though. Wizards of the Coast distributed this.
Yeah, their logo is right on the cover.
Adam, what do you know about WOTC?
I believe they are the madmen and women behind and people behind Magic: The Gathering. Am I right?
Yeah, they created Magic. They now own Dungeons and Dragons. So they're pretty big on that front.
Yeah.
They helped develop, to put in perspective, the Pokemon card game was originally a Wizards of the Coast development.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yep.
Huh.
They came up with the rules and everything, and they handled distribution and stuff in the Americas, and then the Pokemon Company bought it back. Or chose not to renew the contract, but they had all the IP, so.
Well, I'll tell you, one game that did not catch on was the 2000 X-Men trading card game that I guess is modeled after the movie, but only insofar as everyone wears black leather.
Yeah, so this is a tie-in comic to a trading card game that very few people have ever played.
Yes, disguised as a movie special. It's a tricky little line there.
Well, so the trading card game is a tie-in to the movie, weirdly.
Right. Yes.
Not well, but it is. And this is a tie-in comic to the trading card game that ties into the movie. This came in the 2-player starter kit for the X-Men trading card game, which I have never played, but I do own 2 booster boxes of.
Oh, wow. Really? So you have
Yes,
Are they open? Have you looked through
yes.
the cards?
they are open. The artwork is bad on
Yes.
almost all of them.
Yep.
In fact, so much of the art is just credited to the Marvel Corporation because either A, a billion artists made it work, or B, they chose not to be credited for very rushed work.
All things are possible. This story...
It's a weird looking card game too, because it's got it's asymmetric but still competitive. Like it is each player plays a team of X-Men fighting a common set of villains.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like whoever can defeat the most villains first wins. So you're competing over a set of resources, but not directly against each other. And there's a lot of dice rolling. And like I got these at a time that I had gotten a little too into Magic the Gathering in college. I don't think me saying that's going to be too shocking to anyone.
I'm not
Fun
judging.
fact, not even close to the person in the Comics XF family who has gotten the most into Magic the Gathering. I'm far from that.
Again, no judgment. If you want to be into that, that's cool.
Listen,
all of what
I'm
you're
very
saying...
lucky that Magic Arena is not available on my tablet.
Oh, right. Yeah. Now you can play it as an app. I all of what you're saying sounds like gibberish to me because I've never played these games. And this is such a weird bait and switch. I realize this came with the card game. So, you clearly knew what you were getting with this, because this comic came with the card game, not the other way around. But the story is just weird. Jay Faerber does the story. Anthony Williams does pencils. Stephen Baskerville does inks. And right off the bat, it's strange. It's supposed to be the X-Men movie cast. Rogue is already aged up. And they're split up and sent on missions to defeat, I guess, just like in the card game. They got to fight against Sabretooth. There's another group going after Toad, and then Mystique shows up. Everybody's talking
around.
Yeah, everybody's talking to each other on their Apple Watches. And then the really interesting part is the second half of the comic where Magneto reveals that he's got some new teammates.
He does, because Magneto is trying to recruit a young mutant named Malcolm, who is just a child, to join his Brotherhood of Evil.
Right. Right off the playground. He's like, especially since you don't even know what game we're playing. I see what you're doing there, Mr. Faber.
They're just having fun here.
Very subtle.
And Magneto has some new recruits. It's his acolytes.
Yeah, he's got some very, very bland versions of Senyaka, Fabian Cortez, and Frenzy. And it also turns out, much like in a card game where you might have some aces in your sleeve, that Charles Xavier has some added new characters as well. So Angel, Colossus, and Psylocke with her red face tattoo show up.
Yeah, that was the design that they went with for this. Here's the thing. There were more villains in the first set of the cards than just the 4 that are seen here.
Yeah.
Senyaka's not one of them. Frenzy's not one of them. Fabian Cortez is not one of them.
That's weird. So you've got this comic and you're like, oh, cool. I'm going to be able to beat up Senyaka, and then I can't.
Yeah, it's weird. This comic also in the middle of it has like some concept art for some of the different designs of villains and things that are in the game. Like Mojo is in this.
This is actually my favorite part of the issue, is this like behind the scenes 2-page spread where they show you this very bizarre, and I know this actually made it into the game, this very bizarre like Jeff Darrow kind of style Sentinel.
Oh, the Sentinel that has like a Spitfire, like plain paint on the face.
Yeah.
It looks almost closer to one of the robots of the right than a Sentinel.
It's a really interesting choice. And like I said before, I guess the idea of X-Men movie tie-in is black leather, because the only thing that unifies, I mean, we've got a really interesting cast here of Marrow. There's a really weird Bishop with like techno gizmos coming out of his shoulder.
Marrow is in the game like a lot, actually.
Oh, that's good. Good for Marrow. But they're all just wearing sort of like the bland X-Men movie, like head to toe black pleather, including Gambit, who's head to toe black leather plus a black leather jacket.
Listen. Gambit loves leather.
So I think this is a little bit more of a fun curiosity than the first one. It definitely has.
It's weird.
Yeah, it definitely has, like, I don't think we mentioned this. The story the story we just talked about was a full-length comic, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
It was 16 pages. This one's a full-length comic.
This is a full-length comic. So this, it's an actual story from beginning to end. It's very clearly, like, trying to promote this idea of the gameplay. And I don't know. It's interesting enough to, I think, if you're, like, into oddities, that you might want to track it down.
Oh, yeah. All of these, if you're into weird X-Men stuff, I have a folder on a drive of things that I don't feel bad about pirating because Marvel legally will never make these again. And also weren't making money on them the first time. And it includes this because this is such a fascinating little artifact.
Yes. And I believe this one you can get fairly inexpensively. I think.
Yeah, those trading card sets did not sell well.
not a hit, as I mentioned before. But yeah, I mean, if you're an Art Adams fan, you might want to track it down for the wraparound cover. If you just want to get a weird look into what some kind of like promotional stuff coming off of the movie and that whole aesthetic might look like, it's definitely interesting.
Do you know what this is? This is what X-Men comics would have been if Grant Morrison didn't show up.
It's very possible.
Because it's movie tie-in-y things, black leather, because that was happening regardless.
Right.
But without any sort of evolution of storytelling or anything like new to bring to the table. This is very much, I am Magneto and I am evil, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of depth to anything. Every character that shows up just shows up to show up. So it's not unlike the first story we talked about in that, it's a promise of gameplay to come. Unfortunately, it sounds like they're misrepresenting what's in the box, but what are you going to do about that?
At some point, I should play this game. maybe sometime whenever I ever have someone who's around that would want to play this game. Not my wife. Lord knows she would not want to do this.
What if we end up going, if all works out and everybody's vaccinated and we end up getting to C2E2 in December, this would be a great way to just like hang out at the end of the day. Let's try and play this game.
This would be good, is trying to learn this bad card game. Let's rank it. This is better than Prelude to Perdition.
I would agree. And I think that you were mentioning, I see you've got something highlighted lower than this, but I feel like this is a Heroes for Hope like esque novelty that is weird enough that you might want to track it down.
It's definitely weird enough that you want to track it down. And I'd say it's more worth it than Heroes for Hope, even though George R.R. Martin does not write anything in this one.
Sure.
We always forget about all of the wild people who wrote in Heroes for Hope.
It was all the letter and goblins, they came out of the woodwork.
It was. Better than Apocalypse versus Dracula, I think.
Yes.
I know where my ceiling is.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I think you're jumping up a little bit too high. It's definitely better than 393, which is Brood Feud 2. Is it better than Apocalypse vs. Dracula?
Apocalypse vs. Dracula doesn't have Apocalypse fighting Dracula very much. Nowhere near as much as you want it to be.
No, that's very true.
It mostly has, Blink's great-great-grandfather super high on heroin.
Yeah, it was all like, hey, I'm related to you guys.
Yeah.
Days of Future Present also has cool Art Adams content. Oh, wait. Yeah, right? That's
Days of Future Present is probably better than this.
I would say it's better than this. So maybe this is our new 392.
Just from an artistic standpoint alone.
Yeah. That fourth issue is
392.
good. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's a good showing for something this bizarre.
Okay. Can we talk about something that I want to talk about? Not really this comic very much, but I do want to talk about the thing that this comic is based on, and that is X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse, the greatest X-Men video game that has ever existed and ever will exist, I assume.
Yeah, we both mentioned before that we're both fans of the X-Men Legends series from PS2. Tell me your X-Men Legends, like, what's your origin story with this? Because I feel like it means a lot to you. So,
X-Men Legends was something that was advertised in Nintendo Power Magazine, a publication that I did have a subscription to.
Very cool.
And did keep every magazine to reread it because at the time I was like 11 or 12.
Yeah, like people do when they're kids.
Like people did. Loved it. Thought it was great. It talked about how you could customize everyone's stats so that you could say, yeah, you could make Colossus hit really good. Or you could make Colossus real fast and good at jumping like a ballerina. I said, okay, hold on. I'm very interested in this game. So after my friend Dave Newman got it for his Xbox, or rented it, we rented it one night. We played it, loved it. I got it for my PlayStation 2 when I got a PlayStation 2. And I got really frustrated and couldn't beat it. I couldn't beat the first X-Men Legends. I got real mad because it moved me to a special mission and I was save locked there with characters that I hadn't played with. And it was save locked there fighting Sentinels. In the Sentinels mission, if you didn't have the right characters leveled up the right way, was almost impossible. And I got so frustrated with it. I tried a lot.
It's so funny that you say that because the same thing happened to me except in reverse. So I was able to beat X-Men Legends, but I was never able to beat Legends 2 because I hadn't leveled my team up and I did a really dumb save at some point. And I did not want to go back and play through the whole game again just to get my characters to where they needed to be. I'm sorry I interrupted your...
X-Men Legends 2 was different because I had X-Men Legends 2 on the PlayStation Portable, the PSP.
Yes.
Again, my dad got it for me because he knew that I liked X-Men and that I had a PSP. And it was a great port because X-Men Legends it's like Gauntlet. It's like the perfect drop in, drop out kind of game. So you could just play it, beat up some people for 15 minutes and be done. And X-Men Legends 2 had an amazing cast of playable characters. Running down the list, you have Bishop, you got Colossus, you got Cyclops, you got Gambit, you got Iceman, you got Jean Grey, you got Juggernaut, you got Magneto, Nightcrawler, Rogue, Scarlet Witch, Toad, Sunfire, Storm, and Wolverine. Not to mention unlockable characters like Deadpool, Professor X, and Iron Man from 2005 when people didn't know Iron Man was going to be a going concern in our lives.
That is absolutely bizarre. Now, if I remember correctly, if you wanted different unlockable characters, you had to buy different platforms, right? Like, if I couldn't get all those characters on my PS2.
There were exclusive characters for the PlayStation Portable, the PC, and the Nokia N-Gage. I had a PSP, so I could also get Cable, Cannonball, Dark Phoenix, and it's a digital X-Man update. X-Man. X-Man was on my team, even though I hate him.
Still.
I grew to hate him, but he was very powerful.
Can you even imagine the audacity to put Nate Gray in a video game?
Yes, because the game came out in 2005, the 10th year anniversary of Age of Apocalypse. which, again, in my mind, the gulf between 1995 and 2005 is such a wide spread of things. And, like, the difference between those two dates and March of last year is unfathomable.
It's a lifetime, right? Well,
It's so much. But anyway, Legends 2 is great. It's all based on Age of Apocalypse and kind of the 12, and it's super good. This comic, less so. Adam, what's your X-Men Legends vibe?
I loved the first one. I wish I could have beat the second one, but like I said, I messed myself up with a bad save file.
Should get okay. So what I do know is that X-Men Legends 2: Rise of Apocalypse had an incredibly rabid modding community for the PC.
Really?
So they brought in a ton of characters. Like they just custom made lists of everyone. It was absolutely cool. And also, I mean, look, maybe someday you and me figure out how to get that on the PC, and maybe we do a live stream or we do a Twitch thing or something like that.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Here is the Marvel mod catalog for this. Current count of characters, 140.
Oh my god. Okay, that gives us some options.
Yes. Now they pulled in some characters from the Ultimate Alliance games, which also used the same engine, but also brought in like Angel, Avalanche, Arclight, Blink, which Blink had a model in the game, so it worked pretty well. Daken is in here. Destiny is a character. Dust,
Wow.
is a character you can be in this
Cool.
mod that people
That's neat.
made. Magic, Magma, Marrow. I know I'm just listing characters, but I think this is...
It's funny that
this
you
is
mentioned
kind of
Magma
evil.
because I played through the entire first game without really realizing that Allison Crestmere, who is your sort of POV character, is actually supposed to be Magma. Okay. So you'll notice that like we're not really talking about this comic that much. This was a tie-in giveaway that Activision made, and it's only 16 pages long.
It's pretty short.
Or is it 12 pages long?
It's 12 pages. It's only
Yeah,
12
this
pages
is
long.
this is a
The
short
rest of it is
deal.
ads. Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti wrote it, which I don't know why they needed two writers, especially when Jimmy Palmiotti is able to write by himself.
Sure, and especially because really only two things happen in these 12 pages. One,
Also, Georgia Genti from what's the sex cop comic called?
sex criminals?
No, Leah Williams, the X-Men Sex Police. Why am I blanking? The Extremists.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Leah Williams, the X-Men Sex Police comic. Yes, Georgia Genti from that does the art on here.
Yeah, so really only two things happen. The Apocalypse Jr., aka Holocaust, shows up and abducts Polaris from I guess, like a info session she's doing with Professor X.
Sure.
And then Apocalypse himself pops over to Genosha and abducts Quicksilver. And
Yes. What you find out in the game is Apocalypse is searching for 4 mutants with harmonic DNA that he is going to use to take over the world and do a mini the 12. And those are Polaris, Quicksilver, Emma Frost, and Sabretooth, which doesn't make any sense.
no,
but
that's
it's
some
fine.
weird choices, but not like the 12 made any sense.
No, but it made more sense than those 4.
Yes, it does.
Beast and Angel also get captured and turned into Dark Beast and Archangel, respectively, in the game. None of this happens in the comic.
No.
That would be way funnier.
No. Unfortunately, if you go back and you look at the opening cutscene of Legends 2, it looks like Magneto and Mystique and Sabretooth are doing this evil prison break. But it turns out the X-Men are helping them, and they're trying to break out.
It's a good opening.
It's a great opening.
A lot.
And they're trying to break Professor X out of a a facility of some kind. So where we end with this 12-page preview is just, hey, Magneto's like, they kidnapped my kid. Let's go team up with the X-Men. And everybody's like, okay. That's the end. Continued in the game from Activision. Available September 21st, 2005. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all that happens.
This is much more of a fun excuse to talk about a fun set of video games than it is like where we were, I think, getting a little bit more excited about the other two as sort of like weird publishing oddities. This one, I don't really feel any need for anybody. I don't want to recommend that people like hunt this down.
No. Hunt down the game X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse. It rules.
Right. So, I think I did a quick eBay search and I think copies of this were going for like $40 or something crazy. Like, don't pay for that. That's silly.
Don't spend $40 on this.
No, you could probably get a PS2 and a copy of X-Men Legends for $40.
What you need to do is get a PC that can run at least Microsoft Windows 98.
There you go.
1.2 gigahertz Pentium processor. Okay, this is going to be important. You are going to need 2.5 gigabytes of hard drive space and 256 megabytes of RAM to run this. Oh, and a DirectX 9.0C compliant sound card. So hopefully, if your computer meets those stats, you can rock this game and not play anything else and just play this.
And not buy this comic book. So, in terms of ranking, I think this is probably the worst of the bunch. Like,
it's
just not.
Yes, but not much.
Yeah, there's just not a lot.
Just about
here.
there. It's still not worse than Sacred Vows at 447.
Yeah.
This is not worse than both Polaris is a crazy woman, and also we had a secret coma relationship.
No, you're right. But I do think it's worse than the Roy Thomas story. So this is going to be our new 447.
This could be 447. Go play the video game. It's so good. I love it so much.
And what's crazy
they just
though?
Straight up re-released it, I'd buy it in a heartbeat.
Give us a port. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Put it
on my Switch. Activision. Don't be cowards. Put it on the Switch.
I would buy it. There would be lots of people that would buy it. Yeah. So like, what's crazy is that we've just scratched the surface, not only of X-Men video games, but even X-Men video game tie-in stuff. Like there's other weird things like this out there, like the iConnect special and the
iConnect
trying to think of some of the other ones. But I hope that we've discovered a couple of these for people who may not have heard of them before.
Yeah, go look into what weird X-Men comics you could get at Taco Bell in 2011, or what you could get by sending in some things of Stridex pimple cream. Or what comics starring Fantasia you could get in Hardee's meals?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that even though like we're ranking these kind of low, I feel like
because they're bad.
I feel like we started this show with these kind of weird things in mind. Like we wanted people to make us talk about them. So, who are we thanking again for doing this?
I would thank Matt. I'm thanking him. He went on over to patreon.com/comicsxf, threw money our way, support local comic book journalism, depending on where you are locally. If you want to be like him, you can throw money that way. $5 gets you an episode. You get cool Discord access at different levels. You get a lot of really fun, cool, and good stuff, so go do that. Adam, what's up?
Oh, man, Zach, check this out. I just got this in the mail today. Now, listeners, you won't be able to see this, but I did get my Ultimate
What is
Expanse.
what is that? Is that a robot? It looks disguised.
It is a X-Men Transformer. So it is the Blackbird jet that then transforms into some kind of like Cyclops robot. So
It's Ultimate X Pants.
I have not taken this out yet because I just got it this afternoon, but I've heard
Gotta keep it mint. You gotta keep it mint in the box,
no,
Adam.
I want to make the robot. So I've heard it's a little bit difficult to transform. It's like 34 steps or something. So I'll attempt this maybe later this week.
This is an expert level transformation.
So
Well,
maybe I'll live tweet my transformation at Arthur Stacy. Zach, what's going on at Comics XF this week?
a lot of really cool stuff's going on at Comics XF this week. We actually, friend of the show, Lonnie Nadler, did a piece about his upcoming comic that was out, I guess, last week as you're listening to this, Undone by Blood or The Other Side of Eden. It's a, I don't want to say sequel. He wrote about exactly what it is. It's an anthology thing that follows one of the characters from the meta-narrative of Undone by Blood or The Shadow of a Wanted Man. And then a new story. It's great. Him, Zach Thompson, Sam McKeva, they do this. It's an incredible comic. I love it so much. We have that. We had an interview with Tyler Boss from... What other great comic was that called? Dead Dog's Bite. I absolutely adore it. So good. Listen, we've got a lot of really good stuff going on.
It really is amazing.
Really
the amount of content we're putting out is wild.
Right. I love my little X-Men site that I look on the front page occasionally and there's nothing X-Men about it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I just
That's
got
it. comicsxf.com.
I just got a chance to write actually about Transformers this past week. So the site is alive and well, and go check it out, folks. What do we got going on next week, Zach?
Next week, we have the Mark Silvestri Power Hour.
Ooh, love that. He's a very tall man.
We're going to talk about some Mark Silvestri stuff. Not necessarily all Mark Silvestri comics, but all comics that are inspired by Mark Silvestri and imbue the Mark Silvestri spirit.
Yes.
But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!